You know, there are times when you just come across a print and you take a look at it and for no reason you just want to print it, and this Elf Princess by CA3D Studios was that very print for me. Now I'm going to print everything on the Blueprint Studio, but look, I have downloaded the version with the built-in supports, and I don't want them to have built-in supports, but the Blueprint Slicer allows you to easily remove supports that are already there, and I'll show you the process that you've just seen me do. It's real quick, it's real simple, and not only does it allow you to remove the supports that are there, you can then add the Hagear's very own supports that do the job remarkably. So all you do is click the model, go into split, go remove the pre-supports there and confirm. It does a little bit of thing in the background. Click the little icon over the parts, say continue. Another little box will pop up, say apply. Let's keep it simple, folks, and that's it. There you go, and it doesn't matter whether they're big pieces or whether they're small pieces. You can remove the pre-existing supports if that's what you want to do. You can also export this now as an STL and put it on another slicer if that's, again, what you want to do. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it on this particular machine, which is my RS Turbo. I'm going to repair all the parts as well. Just click on the part, select repair, and then it will pop up with a little box, and when that little box pops up, it will tell you what it's done and how it's done it, and you don't need to know the detail, you just need to know that it's repaired and it's ready to go for the supports. Auto support is what I'm using. I'm not changing with any of the settings. I didn't feel I needed to, and look at that, auto supported beautifully. Now I'm going to print these across two of my Hagear's machines, on the RS Turbo there, which is connected to the pulsing release module, and also just on my original Ultracraft Reflex RS, which will take a little bit longer but will give me pretty much the same detail. The supports will be easier to get off the RS Turbo with the pulsing release module, but still easy to get off, no real dramas at all. So the first pieces are off, and they are just looking beautiful. That little tinge that you can see of yellow, I did sand the back of their head with something I'd used to sand something with some primer, so some of the primer went on the model. You're not going to see it when I prime them, but oh god, they're beautiful. I've just touched the very slightest of touches to it with a very high grit sandpaper, just to get a couple of really tiny little marks off, but look at the tolerance there, that's just beautiful. And you've got to agree with me, the quality that the RS and the RS Turbo throws out is amazing. Now they were printed on the RS Turbo, but this one was printed on just the RS, and look at it, look at the detail, it's just absolutely drop dead gorgeous. I can't wait to get this one together and to paint it. Those arms, there's not a mark on them. Now this is printed at 0.3 microns, so you would expect a decent quality, and you have a decent quality. Now the hair's going to need quite a bit of support removal, so I'm going to use an engraving tool to get that off, and I've done a whole video on using this tool, but that will do that job no problem. But the actual hair itself looks amazing, absolutely beautiful. The RS and the RS Turbo, awesome machines. Now, unless you're lucky enough to own a large scale 3D printer such as the CA3D Ultra, you're going to need to print certain parts in halves and glue them together and fill the gaps in the middle. It's a pain, there's no two ways about it, but we can make the process a little bit easier for you. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to stick it together with some glue and some activator, but what I've done first before I've done anything is just made sure that they fit together as best they can. I've sanded any of the little support nubbins off, because when I supported these models in the slicer, I didn't want any support settings on the actual dress, or as few as possible, so they were supported using the flat edges. And now that that's done, I want to take off the little nubbiny bits and glue them together. I'm then going to take some of the resin that I used to make it, which was the Pass 10 from Hagear's, and you've probably seen me do this before, but I always try to fill gaps this way, and I always say there are a number of ways you can do this and a number of products on the market you can use, but I just like to use the resin that I used to build the thing in the first place. I think it adds continuity. You can't see the join markers easily if you use the same resin, although you can argue that any resin would do the same job. There are other things on the market as well, like Concrete Coal UV Putty, or Green Stuff World, or Milliput, or just some resin with some talcum powder in. But I'm using their basic resin, put on with a brush that I'm happy to throw in the bin when I've finished. And when I've done all of that and I've cured everything, I'm going to clean it all down with a bit of IPA. And I think you can see there that the join has pretty much gone. Now, it's not going to be completely perfect and you're going to need to do a little bit of sanding, but I think you have to agree that that looks a darn sight better. The other thing I'm going to do is put it in my curing station for about 10 minutes to make sure everything is cured. The secret with this is a little bit of resin, often not too thick, and I've done exactly the same with the base. Don't worry about the line in the middle because you're not going to see that because the dress is going to sit on the top. Now I'm going to prime this one primarily with white Army Painter primer because this dress is going to be a creamy kind of colour, and a lot of this white will be the end result. And I'm going to put some more airbrush paint over the top of it, of course, but the undercoat I want to be white apart from the rest of it, and the dress white, but the rest of it I want to be black, and I've just used some Army Painter black there. Now for the skin tones, you may have seen me do this before. Sorry if you're watching this again. Pixie Pink with a little bit of thinner thrown in there. Press that bubble to mix. A lot of people hate me when I do this. I'm really sorry, but that's the way I do it. And a layer of that pink, that very dark pink, all over all of the skin tones first to just base the model off. Really, I just want to give it that look of skin, look of flesh and blood underneath the skin tone. So I'm going to give everything a coat with that pink before moving on to Nomad Flesh. This is, as I always say, this is the Army Painter Flesh Triad, and Triad, the three of them, and I'm going to give the Nomad Flesh a good old base of that, but I'm going to leave just a hint of that pink coming through. I don't want to cover it absolutely completely, just a hint, a soupçon of that pink coming through, and the same again on everything else. The thing with skins is they're all different colours. So Barbarian Flesh is next, and I'm going to come top down and I'm just going to hit some of the higher points, and I'm going to be a bit cheeky and hit a couple of the lower points as well, just to add again that striation of colour, that change of colour, that depth into it. You can still see a little bit of a pink in it, so we're not going to get rid of that completely, but I just want the higher tones where the sunshine, the natural light would hit to look like they are catching the old sunshine. So once we've done that, I'm going to move to the highest, which is Wildling Flesh. These are the three colours, Wildling Flesh being the highest, and this one I'm going to use to blitz and batter the top of the skin, the knuckles, the bits that naturally stick up. I know which position this is going to be on the model, so I want to make sure that the highest points are the highest colour, and this is the way we're going to do it again with the head. And again, you can still see a little bit of that pink undertone under the chin, not too much, just a little bit, and a bit of pink on the underarms there as well. Again, another layer on, and the final layer of a lighter colour. Don't overdo it, don't make her look pale. And Carmine Red next, and I'm going to try really carefully using some airbrush control just to give her a little bit of rougey eyeshadow. I found this to be the easiest way to do it. There's no other way I'll get it on there. If I paint it on, it looks too thick. If I use chalk, it comes off. I just found a very controlled airbrush will get that eyeshadow on. Now, bleached bone is what I'm going to use, and all I'm going to do with the bleached bone is just give the dress some highlights. I want it to look cream. I want it to look like it's made like a wedding dress kind of thingy, and I think I've succeeded with that. It does look like silk almost, which is what I'm after, and I'm happy with that result there. I'm going to just let it dry and give it a coat of some matte varnish just to protect it, because I don't want any of that paint coming off. And this matte varnish is great. It doesn't give it a shiny look, it just protects. And I'm going to do everything with this matte varnish, because as we move forward with the build, we're going to get bits on there. Now, Brinky Black for the eyes, and I'm going to paint those layers around the eyes, the eye shadow underneath there, around the sort of lids, around the outer edges of the eye. You've seen me do eyes 1,000 times and nothing is any different on this one. So I'm going to paint the whole thing black, including the eyeliner, the whole thing. You may not want to do it this way, but it's just the way that I do it and I'm comfortable with it. For the lips, I'm just going to use some red wash, and once that was on there and it had dried, I gave it another couple of layers just to darken up the redness a little bit. But again, red wash is brilliant for lips. Again, you have your own way of doing lips. Sometimes I've seen purple used, but I quite like like that red look. And next for the eyes, I'm using just a bit of ivory, and I'm going to try as carefully as I can to paint inside that black area, just to leave a black outer edge above and below, a little bit thicker above than below. So there was a little bit of toing and froing with the ivory and the black to tidy this up afterwards, which I'm not going to show you the whole process, but just a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of playing to get that white in the background before moving on to some grimoire purple. Now she's got like purpley pink eyes, so I'm just going to paint that dark grimoire purple first. She's looking up and to her right, our left, so I'm going to just make sure that I put the irises around in that colour, mixed a little bit of white in with the purple just to add a bit of colour to the bottom part of the eyes, where naturally they're going to be a little bit lighter. And I'm going to do the same with both eyes, that lighter part at the bottom and the darker part at the top. Our eyes just terrify me, they still do after all these years, and I still don't think I'm that good at them. But a black dot for the pupil next. Try to get this in the same place on each eye so she doesn't look boggle-eyed, and you kind of get this picture there. Now I'm going to tidy up some of the black. I'm going to add a little bit of pink at the bottom of the eye. I'm going to add a little bit of wash into the eye just for the corners of the eye, but you get the gist. And once I'm happy with them and once they're done, I'm going to get some gloss varnish and I'm going to dollop that in good and thick in the eye. Don't worry if it looks a bit opaque, that will clear when it dries. Both eyes are getting exactly the same treatment, and I'm also going to go across her lips to give the lips a bit of a glistening wet look too. When this has dried, I gave it another layer. I really want them to be nice and shiny and look wet. Next, I'm just going to take a little bit of silver on a small brush, and taking my time, I'm just going to paint this. I don't know what it is on her forehead. I don't know if it's a kind of a crown-like thing or a tiara, but it's silver anyway in the reference picture. So I'm going to give it a blast all the way across really, really carefully before painting the centre emerald white to start with to give it a base so it looks nice and shiny. Moving on to moot green, and I'm going to pop that on there just to give it a look of, if you will, an emerald of some kind. And once that had gone on and dried, a quick flick with some Tesseract glow and it was done. And I've done exactly the same with the necklace around her neck, funny enough, and all the other bits were green. I've done with a bit of Tesseract glow moot green, and I did the bracelet silver, and also with a little bit of pearl colour, just that ivory again, just to give them a little bit of difference. Really just take your time with it. I didn't want to get the paint everywhere, but it was fiddly, I ain't gonna lie. Just using that same silver on the section in the centre, I'm just going to pull down in a dry brush technique. It's a bit thicker than a dry brush really, because I did want the silver to be quite prominent, so I didn't wipe too much off the brush, but you can still see the black in the background and the silver in the foreground. You can also see there are a couple of emeralds in the belt as well at the front and the back, which I of course did exactly the same treatment to. White, a bit of Tesseract glow and a bit of moot green or newt or loot or whatever, because it's green, just in the centre, just to make it look a little bit different. Chocolatey browny colour, this chipping colour from AK I've used for the soil on the base, and I'm dry brushing it on fairly thick just to add a little bit of colour to it, whopping it all the way over before moving some orc skin to dab on where the grass is. I think this orc skin on top of brown looks really grass-like, so I'm just going to dab it on in the areas where the texture shows that the grass should be. And once I've done that, leather brown, just a little bit of a highlight onto the brown just to wipe it through. Now again, this was a simple base. I could have added washes, I could have added all sorts of stuff on here, but I don't want to take away from the main model, and I think this is enough for the base. It really, really is. The hair, I did the same, white base coat, used some of that pallid bone colour to bleached bone, sorry, and then put a bit of Agrax Earthshade to darken it up. Let's glue it together and let's have a final look at the elf princess. Hope you like what you see. So the elf has taken her place on the shelf in the studio, a shelf that is rapidly becoming, as you can see, very full of models. I think the model itself by CA3D is a lovely, lovely model. It was well constructed. It went together really, really well, and I thoroughly enjoyed making it and printing it and painting it. Printing on the Hagears Ultracraft Reflex RS and the RS Turbo using their PAS 10 resin. Wonderful resin, absolutely wonderful printer. You know that I love the printer on Greedy 3D. Some of it will have its haters because of its locked-in ecosystem, although it's not technically got a locked-in ecosystem. It does have a locked-in ecosystem. You know what I mean, because you've seen me test all sorts of resins on it. But I'm happy with the print quality. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Don't forget, if you want to get hold of one of these reflex printers, time's running out to get the discount. The links will be down below. There'll be a code down below as well. Follow it if you want to buy that through the link. If you do like what you see on the channel, please subscribe. Please think about joining the Patreon. Thank you to my existing patrons. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you for your support. Let me, as always, know what you think in the comments of this. Now, it's not perfect. I know it's not 100% perfect. Nothing is. I'm happy with it. It's going to sit on my shelf looking absolutely wonderful. If I did it again, I think I would take a little bit more care on making sure that the dress was absolutely smooth as silk before I painted it, because after painting it, I did notice a couple of areas that I thought, well, I should have sanded that a little bit more. The hair looks okay. I've used that engraver. There's a couple of areas that I missed on it, and that's my own fault again, but you can't see. It's right at the back of the bottom, so you won't ever see it when it's sat on the shelf, but I know it's there. So next time I'm going to be even more careful, and when you make yours, you'll understand what I mean if you do make one, because the hair, there's loads of it to sand the supports off. Hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I'm Greedy 3D.